is East Africa safe?
Okay, I think we are largely safe. Actually, yesterday I saw a tweet where someone was trying to say this is coming closer. It shows the sentiment that many Ugandans share. And then Alan Kasuja said Uganda is coup-proof. And I seem to agree with that. But you know, things can shock you. But our president has over time said today is no time for coups. And honestly speaking, when I look around at the countries where there have been coups over the past years, even if we go back to the Arab Spring of 2011, and then we look at the countries like the Sudan, countries like recently like Niger, or even Zimbabwe, there is something that is the common denominator in this country, and it is that nothing good has come of them. Actually, their economies have even become worse since the coups. So before people start thinking, having these thoughts, personally as Olive, I think they need to really think hard and think about the consequences.
By the way, there is a funny twist to the coup in Gabon. When you look at General Brice Oligui Nguema,
the one that has been announced as leader.
The one who has actually been announced as the leader,
yes,
was former President Omar Bongo's aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp, someone who was, I think it's more like a personal bodyguard.
Yes.
And he was the one who was actually following him everywhere he was going, till he went off power in 2009. And then surprisingly, one of the reasons as to why they've actually overthrown him may similarly be the same reasons as to why, you know, he's also having the same issues, having different accounts in other countries. He also has, you know, different houses. And these are, again, the things they actually fronted to, you know, put down the end to what they call dictatorship, and as well long stay in power of this particular family.
But think about it like this. A long stay in power would be one thing on the side, but what have you done for the countrymen? For them not to even have a reason to overthrow you. Think about a country that is about 2.4, 2.8 million Ugandans. Not even half of our population. But then when you look at their welfare, you know, you're going to look at it and be like, he could have done better. Did he give these countrymen a reason not to overthrow him?
And if the problem had been his father, because his father had been in power for so long before he died, what has he done to change the mindsets of the people of that country? Because you can't say that you have a population that is under 5 million and they are living in poverty. I remember when Muammar Gaddafi was still president of Libya, the population was about 7 million people and they were living a good life. And we have come to realize that ousting Muammar Gaddafi and even killing him was one of the worst mistakes that were ever done in that country. So as people celebrate this, because we really need to think hard on these things. But anyway, another thing happened yesterday in this country, and that is the former IGP Kale Kaihura had his charges dropped, and he said he defined it as sweet freedom. Now, the other day we were talking about the people the president pardoned, and I said, you never know how beautiful it is to be free until you don't have the freedom. And Kale Kaihura yesterday, when he was when his charges were dropped, he said, I never felt this way. And now that I am a free man, I can't even explain how happy I am.
Well, it is one experience that really anyone who has ever had issues of charges or who has ever been in detention will tell you that getting your freedom back is a day you can never forget. He said that was one of the happiest days of his life. But also, one of the things that comes out very clear here is a bit of what I would call, in my opinion, appreciating and remember the works people did for this country. You know, there was so much happening with the Jimmy Ramafa issue of being pardoned. And I've been listening to various political analysts, and they bring out that, yes, there could be so much good that someone has done, and then a bit of something that is not that very pleasant. But we should look back and say, what has been the contribution of this person at such a time? when we look at General Kale Kaihura, there are a number of elections we had, and they were not that very easy, the outcomes. These are, he was among the people at the forefront to see this move. So for me, this was a good gesture, in my opinion, and it speaks so much to always having alternative ways of dealing with certain things. That all the time it doesn't require you to pick an hammer to kill a mosquito.
I don't think it was really a mosquito. He was,
to have that.
No, I understand what you're trying to say, but no, I don't think the reaction was overstretched. But anyway, he is a free man now, and that's a move in the right direction. And of course, today, a number of army officers will be retired at State House in Entebbe, and he is among those that are going to be retired today by the president and the commander-in-chief. Now, thank you so much again for being with us this morning. We will be giving you right about now the international and local stories that we have managed to gather for you this morning.
And we'll begin with General Kale Kaihura's story, where the former Inspector General of Police, General Kale Kaihura, was acquitted of charges against him of failure to protect war material and illegal expatriation of Rwandese in exile by the General Court Martial in Machindia. This was before the chairman of this court, Brigadier General Freeman Robert Mugabe, where he said that General Kaihura is now free since the Directorate of Prosecution in the army had withdrawn all the charges against him.
Now, moving on to a visit by the Prime Minister Robina Nabbanja in Luwero. The Prime Minister, Right Honorable Nabbanja Robina, has met leaders from the Greater Luwero and asked them to embrace the campaign of farmer mobilization as a continuation of the President's wealth creation campaign done at regional level. Nabbanja says that His Excellency the President wrote to her on May 31st, 2022, outlining 6 policy proposals, among others, production to develop the agricultural sector.
And moving on, the National Unity Platform President Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu yesterday spent his day in Kasese district mobilizing for his party. Kyagulanyi, who arrived in Kasese town at around midday, was welcomed by thousands of NUP supporters who had thronged the streets of Kasese town. While addressing his supporters at Bamucha Gardens in Kasese town, the NUP president promised to unite all NUP supporters for the mobilization drive towards the homecoming of Rwenzururu King Charles Wesley Mumbere, who is expected to be in the district on 4th September this year.
And moving on to sports, Parliament has unanimously resolved to recognize the Uganda national senior athletics team for their outstanding performance in the recent concluded 19th World Athletics Championship in Budapest. The team secured 2 gold medals in the competition, which witnessed Uganda finish in the 11th position out of 193 countries and the 3rd in Africa. Joshua Cheptegei secured a gold medal after winning 10,000 meters, becoming the 4th runner in the world history to win 3 consecutive titles in the race, and Chiplangat Victor, who also won World Marathon, making him the 5th Uganda young athlete in the world history to win gold after Dorcas Inzikuru, Stephen Chiprotich, Halima Nakai, and Joshua Cheptegei. The outstanding performances define the thoughtful decision by Parliament to okay a decision to appreciate the team through a motion presented by the Minister of State for Sports, Peter Ogwang. The same motion saw a similar spirit of congratulating the Uganda national netball team, which qualified to participate in the Netball World Cup 2027, scheduled to be held in Australia.
Crossing over to the international scene, we start off with the U.S. The White House has warned North Korea against selling munitions to Russia for its war in Ukraine as tensions between Pyongyang and Washington continue to mount. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said on Wednesday that the United States is concerned about potential arms deals between Russia and North Korea. We urge the DPRK to cease its arms negotiations with Russia and abide by the public commitments that Pyongyang has made to not provide or sell arms to Russia, Kirby said, referring to North Korea by its official name, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. And away from that, 2 years after their power takeover in Afghanistan, the Taliban continues its crackdown on Afghan women's rights. In recent weeks, the Islamist regime has banned women from public parks and stopped dozens from going abroad on scholarships. Human Rights Watch Heather Barr says these decisions make it seem like the Taliban is engaging in acts of intentional cruelty to Afghan women. On Wednesday, Khalaf Ahmad al-Habtu, the head of the Dubai-based conglomerate Al-Habtu Group, said the Taliban authorities had stopped around 100 women from traveling to the UAE, where he planned to sponsor their university education. And notably, the scholarships were announced in December 2022 after the Taliban banned women from attending universities. Coming back to Africa, army officers who seized power in a coup in Gabon yesterday have named General Brice Oligui Nguema as the West African state's transitional leader. General Nguema was earlier carried triumphantly through the streets of the capital, Libreville, by his troops. The deposed president, Ali Bongo, has appeared in a video and at his home calling on his friends all over the world to make noise on his behalf. The former French colony is one of Africa's major oil producers. Mr. Bongo's overthrow ended his family's 55-year-old hold on power. Army officers appeared on TV in the early hours of yesterday, saying they had taken power. And speaking matters climate change has sharply boosted the risk of fast-spreading wildfires, and this is according to a Californian study published yesterday that offers lessons for prevention after recent disasters in Canada, Greece, and Hawaii. Scientists at the Breakthrough Institute, a non-profit research center, found that human-caused warming increased the frequency of extreme wildfires by 25% on average compared to the pre-industrial era in a study in the journal Nature. Examining a series of blazes from 2003 to 2020, they used machine learning to analyze the link between higher average temperatures, drier conditions, and the fastest spreading blazes, ones that burn more than 10,000 acres, that is 4,000 hectares a day. That's it for the climate news and international news.
Thank you so much, Chantal, for that climate report and, of course, the international news. Now we will cross over to the local dailies and Jerome Paul Sonko has a lot to update us with regarding that.
Well, currently with me I have a copy of the New Vision, and that is ideally highlighting something to do with the Gabon coup. At the top of the paper, the Gabon coup, President Ali Bongo under house arrest. More details on that coup with the New Vision today. And then also, furthermore, detained baby, court orders hospital to carry out DNA test. That is according to what the New Vision is highlighting. There's a very key issue all over social media yesterday regarding the same matter of the hospital detaining a baby over issues to do with completing the bills in hospital. Now, besides that, Kale Kaihura freed and reveals next step, and also details of the general's 5-year court battle in today's New Vision. Furthermore, police intercepts 200 youth being trafficked to Kenya. There is a big story of that. Still with the New Vision. Now, Operation Shuja. President Museveni meets DRC army officers. What were the discussions during this meetup? All of that today in the New Vision. Now, there are also over 260 tenders for the job seekers. Now, elsewhere, the Daily Monitor, also a copy of it here. In the issue to do with relationships, a lady reveals that she's worth more than 150 bags of cement. That's a big one. Then Bobby Wine says don't support General Muhoozi's presidential bid. He was addressing people in Kasese. Furthermore, Kaihura walks to his freedom. Free at last is the headline on the Daily Monitor's front page. Legislators to probe cash for cooperatives. That is according to the Daily Monitor today. Now, the deposed Gabon leader calls for help. I think we all, a couple of us saw that particular video where he was calling out for Africans to shout for his help. And then also Prime Minister Nabanja orders probe into parish development model cash, and as President Museveni sucked into the KCCA bus owners battle. Now, court orders DNA test on detained baby. I want to believe there is this concern about the detained baby because of the fact that the parents, according to what is coming in, the parents did not complete the hospital bills. And at times now these hospitals want someone to complete the bills before they give you back your child during this particular time. I think it is going to be more traumatizing for the parents at such a time for a newborn baby. And these are cases that are happening in Ugandan hospitals, by the way.
This is collateral. This is collateral. I was over the weekend. I got a chance to hear a story of this particular lady who went to one of the big hospitals in town, gave birth, but was on insurance, and they told them and then she lost the baby actually. So this lady is already traumatized and all that. And they tell her, you cannot leave because your insurance company takes forever to confirm payments, so you cannot leave. So they detained this lady and actually put a police officer at the door of her room until everything was sorted out with the insurance company, and the lady was released. And why would a hospital do something like that? Your primary role is to save lives. Okay, I understand the profit element,
and the life
but
has
it's
been
insurance.
But let's look at it this way. The hospital is also, yes, the primary role is to ensure that they save lives. And in this case, yes, the baby was lost, and in most cases there are different reasons as to why someone's child can die. Maybe still be born still, you know, maybe it is a stillborn or dies at birth or whatever. But that aside, the mother is okay, her life is fine. Now let's look into the business aspect of it, because the hospital is also into this business to save lives and also make money. So in the event that they have given you a service and you are unable to clear, what honestly, what other solution do you want them to have?
There's a hospital around the hospital in context here is the Rosewell. But then there's a hospital again called, is it Medipol?
Medipol, yes.
Medipol. There were actually reports earlier this year about the fact that it was, you know, facing some issues to do with the cost of doing business.
Yes.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah, at some point.
The landlord had even closed the building.
Mentioned, at times we realize that the hospitals do all this because of the fact that they need to pay off certain bills, or they
have running costs.
They have running costs, and even charges are a little bit less, because there was a doctor who was sharing that consultancy fee in most of the African countries goes way beyond $200, and in Uganda here it is still cheaper.
Yes.
Yeah,
but still we look at it as a very high fee.
And yet it is usually between
I think there's also one
50.
thing we must look at when it comes to medical or treatment. One, these people start these hospitals to make profit.
Yes.
Very true.
Much as the sole purpose is to treat and save life. But these are business entities.
And they are employing people.
They're employing people, they must pay bills. So sometimes I'm hesitant, but I'm made to say that sorry is better to cut a coat according to your piece of cloth.
That's true.
Most of the times. Yes, we all desire the very best treatment, but sometimes you must also factor in that. For example, giving birth, you know.
But this calls upon government to enhance services.
Before government, otherwise if we had, who would want to pay when there was a free good that is very good?
Okay, the details, the details of this story.
You must also have seen people, I've seen, I don't want to use the word women, but I've seen people who first stretch themselves, sometimes for certain things when they can't afford them, or they're going to be very problematic. I want to tell you, for example, for this special case which is giving birth, you go to a certain hospital, well knowing, and you do surveys. This could be the cost. Most of us have had women, I mean, who have given birth, you know, but they will tell you at this hospital, it ranges between this and this. This hospital, this and this. Then you're like, let's believe God and go to this hospital. Much as we all want the best, we have reached a point where you even see a member of parliament crying out loud, this, that. Let's learn to cut a coat according to our cloth. For example, most when it comes to things of birth, some women now give birth at this hospital.
Okay, Chirabo, you're making a pertinent point, but the details in this story show that probably the parents were ready, because giving birth at Roswell costs about 3 million if it has been a C-section and you have a private room. But the details of the story show that the mother had a premature baby. Now, when you have a premature baby, things change, because if your budget was, let's say, 3.5 for the hospital, care of a premature child can even go to as far as maybe 10 million. In their case, the mother's bill was about 4 point something, and the child's bill was about 5.9. So when they presented that bill, because it is said the mother's bill was cleared, but then the child's bill was not cleared. So what the mother did wrong was, when they presented her with the bill, she left the hospital and said she would be coming back to clear, and she never showed she never showed up. They tried to look for them. They didn't find them. They called the grandparents, and the grandparents told the hospital that they had been told that the child had died and had been buried. Now that's where I'm like, these parents seem like crooks.
You know, the reason as to why I brought up the other insurance story is because I tried to follow it up, because the same hospital mentioned is the same hospital that had been mentioned before, and you realize that in the middle there we have an underlying issue, and that's where I talked about the insurance bit, because they were saying they pay a particular company to cover people, and then the people are not covered. How about we consider some of those things when it comes to planning?
Do you remember the days of COVID-19? How people had to present land titles? During COVID-19, treatment was very expensive. As long as we do not have a health policy and do not have better health facilities in our hospitals, people were dying and they needed oxygen, and hospitals were like, leta kadi ye motoka, leta chapa chetaka, leta this.
Well, health in this country is still very expensive.
Serious intervention.
Healthcare here is still very expensive.
Very expensive.
And as Ugandans, actually, we need to do more in terms of saving, even for the rainy day. Normally, when we talk about rainy day, we think about food. But actually, you only realize how poor you are when you have, let's say, a chronic illness and you cannot afford to pay the medical bills. So like Chirawa said, we need a good working health policy. But moving on, we will be taking a break and leaving you with the inspirational song of the day, and when we come back we will be talking matters mental health, and would like for you to share opinions regarding how best we can avert the challenges that we are facing as a country in terms of mental health. The question we will be asking you to share your opinion on how the mental health challenges can be addressed in the country. For now, we will take a short break and we'll be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, Justin Timberlake.
Even if we go back to the Arab Spring of 2011, and then we look at the countries like the Sudan, countries like recently like Niger, or even Zimbabwe, there is something that is the common denominator in this country, and it is that nothing good has come of them. Actually, their economies have even become worse since the coups. So before people start thinking, having these thoughts, personally as Olive, I think they need to really think hard and think about the consequences.
By the way, there is a funny twist to the coup in Gabon. when you look at General Brice Oligui Nguema,
the one that has been announced
the one who has
as
actually
leader.
been announced as the leader,
Yes.
was former President Omar Bongo's aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp, someone who was, I think it's more like a personal bodyguard.
Yes.
And he was the one who was actually following him everywhere he was going, till he went off power in 2009. And then surprisingly, one of the reasons as to why they've actually overthrown him may similarly be the same reasons as to why, he's also having the same issues, having different accounts in other countries. He also has, different houses. And these are, again, the things they actually fronted to, put down the end to what they call dictatorship, and as well long stay in power of this particular family.
But think about it like this. A long stay in power would be one thing on the side, but what have you done for the countrymen, for them not to even have a reason to overthrow you? Think about a country that is about 2.4, 2.8 million Ugandans. Not even half of our population. But then when you look at their welfare, you're going to look at it and be like, he could have done better. Did he give these countrymen a reason not to overthrow him?
And if the problem had been his father, because his father had been in power for so long before he died, what has he done to change the mindsets of the people of that country? Because you can't say that you have a population that is under 5 million and they are living in poverty. I remember when Muammar Gaddafi was still president of Libya, the population was about 7 million people and they were living a good life. And we have come to realize that ousting Muammar Gaddafi and even killing him was one of the worst mistakes that were ever done in that country. So even if we go back to the Arab Spring of 2011, and then we look at the countries like the Sudan, countries like recently like Niger, or even Zimbabwe, there is something that is the common denominator in this country, and it is that nothing good has come of them. Actually, their economies have even become worse since the coups. So before people start thinking, having these thoughts, personally as Olive, I think they need to really think hard and think about the consequences.
By the way, there's a funny twist to the coup in Gabon. When you look at General Brice Oligui Nguema,
the one that has been announced
the one who has
as leader.
actually been announced as the leader,
Yes.
was former President Omar Bongo's aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp, someone who was, I think it's more like a personal bodyguard.
Yes.
And he was the one who was actually following him everywhere he was going, till he went off power in 2009. And then surprisingly, one of the reasons as to why they've actually overthrown him may similarly be the same reasons as to why, he's also having the same issues, having different accounts in other countries. He also has, different houses. And these are, again, the things they actually fronted to, put down the end to what they call dictatorship, and as well long stay in power of this particular family.
But think about it like this. A long stay in power would be one thing on the side, but what have you done for the countrymen, for them not to even have a reason to overthrow you? Think about a country that is about 2.4, 2.8 million Ugandans. Not even half of our population. But then when you look at their welfare, you're going to look at it and be like, he could have done better. Did he give these countrymen a reason not to overthrow him?
And if the problem had been his father, because his father had been in power for so long before he died, what has he done to change the mindsets of the people of that country? Because you can't say that you have a population that is under 5 million and they are living in poverty. I remember when Muammar Gaddafi was still president of Libya, the population was about 7 million people and they were living a good life. And we have come to realize that ousting Muammar Gaddafi and even killing him was one of the worst mistakes that were ever done in that country. So even if we go back to the Arab Spring of 2011, and then we look at the countries like the Sudan, countries like recently like Niger, or even Zimbabwe, there is something that is the common denominator in this country, and it is that nothing good has come of them. Actually, their economies have even become worse since the coups. So before people start thinking, having these thoughts, personally as Olive, I think they need to really think hard and think about the consequences.
By the way, there is a funny twist to the coup in Gabon. When you look at General Brice Oligui Nguema,
the one that has been announced as leader.
The one who has actually been announced as the leader, was former President Omar Bongo's aide-de-camp. Aide-de-camp, someone who was, I think it's more like a personal bodyguard.
Yes.
And he was the one who was actually following him everywhere he was going, till he went off power in 2009. And then surprisingly, one of the reasons as to why they've actually overthrown him may similarly be the same reasons as to why, you know, he's also having the same issues, having different accounts in other countries. He also has, you know, different houses. And these are, again, the things they actually fronted to, you know, put down the end to what they call dictatorship, and as well long stay in power of this particular family.
But think about it like this. A long stay in power would be one thing on the side, but what have you done for the countrymen, for them not to even have a reason to overthrow you? Think about a country that is about 2.4, 2.8 million Ugandans. Not even half of our population. But then when you look at their welfare, you know, you're going to look at it and be like, he could have done better. Did he give these countrymen a reason not to overthrow him?
And if the problem had been his father, because his father had been in power for so long before he died, what has he done to change the mindsets of the people of that country? Because you can't say that you have a population that is under 5 million and they are living in poverty. I remember when Muammar Gaddafi was still president of Libya, the population was about 7 million people and they were living a good life. And we have come to realize that ousting Muammar Gaddafi and even killing him was one of the worst mistakes that were ever done. There seems to be some bit of awareness regarding mental health and mental illnesses, and of course a lot of talk regarding the need to the need to up our funding regarding that part of health. Now, mental health practitioners have come out and said that the government needs to increase funding regarding mental health. Currently, apparently, mental health only takes 1% of the allotment of the health budget, and they are requesting the government to increase this to at least 5%, because they're saying that the drugs they use to treat mental illnesses are quite expensive, and 1% of the budget is like a drop in the ocean for them. Now, looking at the statistics of how far or how bad mental health is in the country, practitioners say that many Ugandans are being admitted to mental health hospitals like Butabika. And according to the numbers from Butabika Hospital, 24.7% of last year's admissions were due to substance use, and out of those, 44% were due to alcohol, 25% were due to cannabis, and 2.5% were due to psychoactive substances like khat, which is a big number of young people. And of course, this calls for collective action, because mental illnesses are presenting more among young people. But of course, if you don't know what exactly mental health or what mental illnesses mean, we are here to answer that question first. And I'll run to you, Chantal. When we say mental health or mental illnesses, what exactly do we mean?
The challenge I have faced with mental health issues or challenges is that the first thing someone looks at is someone is actually mad. That's the very first thing that we are talking about, the first thing that you'll hear. But just to simplify it for someone, if you are depressed, it's a mental health issue. If you are emotionally distressed, much as it's an emotional issue, it also impacts your mental health. Much as if you're to talk about things like stress, it's a mental health issue. Something as small or simple as that is enough to give you what mental health entails. And of course, it goes deep down to the extreme. Talk about OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, the extreme bit of it especially. Talk about bipolar, and among those. So I would first of all like to first break away the thought or the mentality of the first thing coming to your mind when you talk about mental health being someone is mad. It could be just maybe depression or stress and
before you actually go deeper into it, when we say mad, when you talk to mental health practitioners, there is nothing like a mad person. It is sometimes these people are suffering from a condition called schizophrenia. And if you don't know, schizophrenia means a serious mental condition of a type involving a breakdown in the relation between thoughts, emotion and behavior, leading to faulty perception, inappropriate actions and feelings, withdrawal from reality and personal relationships into fantasy and delusion, and a sense of mental fragmentation.
Thank you. And then when you go to the definition of mental health, it is a condition with regard to psychological and emotional well-being. Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Psychological and emotional well-being. That's when you talk about mental health.
The terminology you've used is a bit hard, but I think the majority of Ugandans are under that. You've mentioned fantasies.
Yes.
And the idea that most of us tend to be living in a world of you know, just fantasizing something. We are being delusional.
Daydreaming as well.
Yes, simply because of what at times I call the post-traumatic stress disorder.
And that is also, you know, a mental health related illness.
Is it the PTSD? PTSD, the post-traumatic stress disorder, whereby the outcomes of your past, you know, continue to reflect or continue to shape your thinking, or they continue to dictate
the way you relate
with people,
your attitude towards life.
And I've encountered this personally, and also got to realize that most of the people in the country are facing the same. You know, when we talk mental health at times, it also goes back to what we are going through. Sometimes the easiest example I could use is, at times you may have your life all together, and then out of the blue, you know, there is a way life changes. Because change is something that we can never, you know.
It's a fact of life.
It's a fact of life, and it hits you differently all the time. How you receive it is totally up to you, because not everybody has the power to withstand any amount of pressure that comes. There are people who are strong enough to keep quiet. There are those who are strong enough to share. Then there are those who completely lose it. Now, the simplest example I could use for mental health, you know, situations in Uganda is the desire to achieve things at a very fast rate. We lack a lot of patience. And at times, because you're seeing Olive with something you want to have, you're seeing Chantal with something you want to have, and then in your mind you're like, I am a failure
because I don't have that.
I don't have it. Now, in that particular time, you're getting your mind into a depressing kind of situation. First, you feel you're not worthy, then you feel like you're a failure, then you know, people start you know, start doubting your mental sanity, whereby at times you do things not because that is who you are, but you're doing things because you want to be someone else.
Right.
And your decisions become, you know, you start thinking differently, at times not because you're thinking in an evolving manner, but you start thinking like as if Tony, or let's say you're not okay. At times people would say, at times friends would say, are you really okay? And it may at times be like a joke with the way you do your things, but at times
maybe it's actually
already,
not.
yeah, it's already eating you up. And depression starts slowly by slowly, and at times you'll never realize it's eating you up.
Until it's really late.
Until it does. So when you look at the mental health that we are currently having, our main issue here in Uganda is the depression that is actually hitting us to that state.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, adding on to that, a report was put in place. Uganda ranks among the 6 countries in Africa. It's among the top 6 countries when it comes to rates of depressive disorders, and it's at about 4.6%, and that was as of 2020, while 2.9% live with anxiety disorders, and this was according to the World Health Organization report that was in 2017. And guess what? Of all those mentioned, 5.1 of those are females, and 3.6 of those are males.
And of course, another report from the Health Ministry and the Uganda Counseling Association revealed that 14 million Ugandans suffer from a form of mental disorder. Seriously, this is from the Health Ministry.
Last year, actually, and people
were making jokes about it. But this is from the Health Ministry, meaning that they did their research and the numbers couldn't be far from the truth. And they go ahead to say that every 35 out of 100 Ugandans you meet in your day-to-day activities may be battling a mental health challenge. So this challenge is big. It's bigger than pretty much all of us, and this is how this is where the conversation is going. As Ugandans, we need to know, I need to know what is the perception of mental illnesses or mental health when it comes to Ugandans. How do they view it?
The first thing I would like to let you know, Olive, is that most Ugandans think when you talk about mental health, it is apparently a disease for the white man. When you talk about depression in Africa, in Uganda, for example, depression is, they'll even tell you, for lack of a better way to put it, they'll put it even in Luganda, that's what they say, that those are diseases for whites and rich people. But just the mere fact that you're saying that, that means you're actually depressed.
It is actually
having diseases like cholera.
It is actually not even Uganda alone. In the black community, we do not take mental health challenges seriously. You've watched a movie, let's say an American movie, where there is a black family and someone says, "Mommy, I am depressed." Depressed? Those are not things for black people. Black people don't be depressed. But black people, Ugandans, we are also human. True. And we go through a lot. You will realize that some of the contributing factors range from poverty and so much more. But yes, I actually want us to look into that. What are some of the contributing factors to the growing number of mental health related illnesses?
Let's even go back to the grassroots family. You've mentioned the movie example about the families, the black families. Families play a very, very huge role. When you look at people with, I don't know if you've got to interact with people with narcissistic personality disorders.
Yes.
And people with who have actually also these are people who at times have the post-traumatic stress disorder again affecting their lives. If you trace back from the background of most of these people, it is either at times our families or our parents have not been available during the childhood to take us through the stages of contentment, availability, and trying to shape us for the challenges of the world. And like you've mentioned, in Africa, even here in Uganda, there is no way a parent is going to sit down with the child, because most of the children fear opening up to their parents about any issue that is affecting them. Why? Because they fear being judged, and they fear parents will actually take it as if it is not as important as it gets. But surprisingly, we have lots of teenagers out there in high school going through a difficult time. And once that you escape that stage where you had no one to talk to and you're only rubbing it off the shoulder, once you hit the 20 years, 30 years, and you're into the real world, workspaces, you're getting to know more people, it starts hitting you and it starts affecting your, it starts affecting how you associate with people, starts affecting your relations, or even how you work in the different spaces. So our mental health issue should as well start with our family upbringing. And at times, family upbringing is not necessarily having money. It is about also being able to avail yourself in the best way you can as a parent, as a mother, or as a father, regardless, but making sure that this particular child who you brought onto this world is appreciated and understood. Because as the government is putting in all these efforts to, to set up different, to different centers or different hospitals, have counselors to help people go through mental health. At times you realize even the charges are high if you go to a hospital to share your, to share your depression. you go to sit to a counselor who's only going to give you 1 hour, and the charges are high. You tell them, you're telling them what you're going through as a person. And then if you don't have money, it's more like a subscription, really. If you don't have money to go in for another session, then that means your first part of it remains there. So as we talk mental health, I think parents should take a lot of time in their parenting. With this generation of looking for money, it's difficult, but we really need to take time to look at the development, the growth and development of children and their characters. You may look at a child at the age of 4 or 5 having different characters, and then once they click 8 to 10, characters change. Again, once they reach into their teenage, characters continue to change. And during that time, as a parent, you need to pay more attention.
You mentioned that sometimes, let's say, teenagers are going through things and there is no one to talk to. We have this attitude as parents, especially from the Black community, where we do not really engage with the children. Last year, for instance, I remember we had so many cases of teenagers and or even pre-teens. I remember one of the cases that saddened me so much was a 9-year-old who committed suicide. And in my mind, I was asking myself, what challenges, what would a 9-year-old be going through, so much so that they ended up taking their own life? But I also realized that it wasn't only that 9-year-old, there was also a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old. And then I remember a boy in a school in eastern Uganda who was given school fees, and he decided to use the money to do God knows what. And when the term came, he was in senior 6, he was supposed to sit exams, and he didn't have money for second and third term. And what did he decide to do? To hang himself. He hanged himself in the dormitory. And there was a girl from a school on Massacre Road that I won't mention, who also committed suicide and left a suicide note saying she was going through too much and she felt misunderstood and unheard, so she decided to take her own life. So as parents, like Sonko said, we need to really be purposeful when it comes to talking to these teenagers. When teenagers, when every age there is a transition, like he put it. And these transitions sometimes are confusing. I'll speak for a girl child. If you're a girl, you grew up with a flat chest, suddenly you have these breasts. Suddenly boys are treating you differently. You don't know how to do with what to do with yourself. Or your mates have breasts and you don't. And it's confusing. Why don't I have breasts? These are things that are going on in the mind of a young woman. And of course, boys have their own challenges. Now, to you, they may seem petty or small issues, but in actual sense, these are causing them depression, and they can't talk to you about these things. So maybe when we open doors of communication and we talk, we create a friendship, like an open door where children are safe to come to their guardians, to their parents, and be able to air out their grievances or things that are aggrieving them, then probably they won't be driven into, you know, solutions, what they may call solutions, things like suicide. But going away from children, let's look at people. Let's, for instance, look at workers. Do we have workplaces that take mental health seriously? Or maybe let me rephrase, away from places that take mental health seriously, what should places of work do in order to ensure that their workers are catered to when it comes to issues to do with their mind, with mental health?
The first thing you would like is, you know, when you're talking about the causes of you know, mental health issues, I would like to break those down into 3 major categories.
Okay.
The first category is gender roles. The next is cultural expectations of family, and the third is poverty. Now, when you go to analyze most mental health issues, they all stem from one of those or all of those. So when you talk about a workplace, you might want to think about a workplace that is going to get more personal with the people that they are working with. But then again, how many of those workplaces have the resources and the time to invest in their people like that? We haven't grown in Uganda. By the way, one of the things that will help you realize that we still have a lot to do when it comes to how we run business is the fact that we always tend to forget that business has to be more people-oriented if it should give you results. And if you're talking about more people-oriented, look at that waitress that is working at your restaurant. She has walked in, and the first thing you're thinking about is put on your uniform, or you should come with your uniform on, start working already. You don't know how she slept, how she got to work. You don't know what is happening in the background. Not that you should know all the time, but there should be a point where this person can come to you and be like, can I have a break? Because I feel like I'm breaking down. Maybe now we can now go back and revise and see which systems can we put in place to control if someone is faking it. Because sometimes someone will be like, I'm having issues at home, and then they just don't want to work.
Because some people are using mental health as a crutch.
Yes. So we can have systems put in place, but let's actually think about getting more personal with the people that we, professionally personal, this is what I mean, with the people that we employ, the people that we work with.
As long as people do not, again, expect to be babysat.
True, true.
That's what I'm saying, we put systems in place that will govern how this kind of friendship, or no, not friendship, how this kind of partnership would work, because literally you're partnering with these people. Yes.
I've come to realize, by the mental health is a very, very key issue, and it has destroyed many things. One, it has destroyed workspaces. And if you ever get to interact with most people in Uganda, they will tell you, I left that job not because they weren't paying me.
It was toxic.
Well, it was toxic. Now, it is a narrative that is actually evolving everywhere. Someone goes into a relationship and they tell you, I left the relationship because I didn't love the person.
You see, in as much as I want us to recognize that people go through things, I also want us to recognize that some people, like I said earlier, are using mental health things, especially the word depression, is lately being carelessly thrown around. Someone doesn't show up to work for 5 days
depressed.
And they come back. They didn't tell anyone. They didn't even tell the boss that they won't come in. Then they come back as if nothing happened, and they're like, I was going through something. Oh, please. We need to exercise professionalism. But if you indeed are going through something, maybe go to your line manager, go to your HR and tell them. You don't need to tell them the details. But honestly speaking, someone that is genuinely going through something, when they go to speak to the line manager, if that line manager is people-centric, they will actually understand, and according to the policy of the company, they will see whether to give you a few days off because it is an illness. Okay, it is an illness where you can, the same way you may miss work because you have malaria and you can't get out of bed, is the same way you will wake up one day when you're so depressed that you cannot even brush your teeth. But you talk to someone, you communicate professionally. Do not just disappear and come back and say, I was depressed last week. Because this is now causing a problem where workplaces are now thinking, okay, to let them go or to let them stay, because this is now becoming a vicious cycle.
Well, also, as we mentioned about Ugandans and dealing with mental health, in one of my conversations a couple of times with people I've been interacting with, to overcome my overthinking as an individual, I was told to live for today and put less pressure on myself for tomorrow. And I've come to realize that most of the happy people in Uganda today, if you're to meet the young people that most people despise, you will find that they do not have a lot, but they are so happy for the today. So it's like, if I wake up today and I make a 20,000 Ugandan shillings, we have quite a number of those Ugandans. If I have a 20,000 Ugandan shillings, let me go to the restaurant, do this.
It's
so
a
the
coping
happiness
mechanism.
so the happiness is within them. Because as much as for now we're pushing for the fact that government is going to be having conversations of increasing the budget for mental health in the next financial year, we also need to look at what is the mindset of the people in Uganda.
And I'm going, we are going to come to that. But for now, I would like to invite you to join this conversation by sharing your opinion on how best mental health challenges can be addressed in the country. The WhatsApp number where you can text us is 0709602592. And we are asking you to share your opinion on how best mental health challenges can be addressed in the country. I'm sure you've heard about mental health, you've heard about mental illnesses, you've heard about illnesses like depression. He talked about post-traumatic stress disorder. When you've gone through a very stressful experience, it can be the loss of a child, it can be the loss of a parent, it can be an accident, the shock of going through an accident, and you ended up having what medics call PTSD. How do you deal? And of course, how do you recover from that? And of course, the phenomenon that where we call people mad, where we say that person is mad. There is no mad person. They're suffering from an illness called schizophrenia that detaches them from reality. That's when you're going to find a woman on the street speaking to herself and you're like, oyo mukazi mulalo. No, they're not mad. They are sick. And actually, families need to know these things. And we have another problem, by the way. When it comes to illnesses like schizophrenia, most families bagamba bamuloze. We also have a challenge where families believe that someone who is mentally sick has been what do you call it? Bewitched. So we relate it to witchcraft. And this is where I go to what you were saying earlier. How much awareness is out there regarding mental illnesses?
I know, because when you mention the awareness and bewitching, Ugandans, the mindset that we have at times, it's like that is where most people believe that mental health or people with mental illnesses or mental sanity issues are either going through poverty. And,
but it's true. What causes depression among most young people is
because of the
poverty.
But you get to realize that it's more of a mindset thing to most of them.
Because mental health is a mindset thing.
When you ever sit down with our parents to ask them how they went through childhood or how they went through the early stages of life, I think even social media has highly played a very, very huge role to depress a generation.
I was coming to that.
Because you see, back in the time, you're in your own race. You're not competing with anyone. Currently, someone sees the other driving a car at the age of 20, and you're 22. You're like, I have failed in life. You see a young man, 25, having a job. You're 28. You're like, what am I doing on earth? Now you start living a journey of comparison. So that means you've forgotten to live your life. Now you're living a life to impress or to make sure that the other person starts thinking you've also made it. And most of the people with the depression kind of thing is living in denial. We fail to accept the reality, and we want to appease a group of people who do not really care about us. Because the truth is, everyone is going through a lot. There are people who have the money, but they have issues to do with their mental health, and their kind of depression is a different one. And when you sit down with them, they will share with you that their mental health issues are more related to unhappiness. Not because they don't have the money, or not because they're not provided for, but they miss something else. So at times, as much as we pull the trigger of the money, which is obviously a key factor in our country and in our generation, but there is also something else. Like when we talk about the awareness part of it, I did mention about the childhood upbringing. How you are brought up highly reflects on how you will be associating with people, and how your mental health is going to be in the future, how you handle yourself as an individual. There are actually people whose adulthood stress is highly because of what is going in, what is actually happening in, or what happened during their childhood.
When you look, when you look at research regarding mental health and mental illnesses, many adults, or pretty much most of us, are suffering from things that were ignored
during
in childhood. Most of the adult challenges we deal with, even if it is things like attachment styles, how do you attach to the partners in your life? Are you anxiously attached? Are you avoidant? All range from the things we went through as children. Were we abandoned by caretakers? Were we given love when we were young? And of course, this also contributes, like he said, to our mental health as we grow as adults. But I would like to share some views from social media. This one says, good morning, Uganda. Now in Uganda, there is no way to solve any problem because each person in his or her position doesn't mind about the fellow. The only key which makes a doctor or any of you need, like he says, the only key or what every one of us needs, whether doctor or patient, it is money. Like Sonko said, he's saying that most people are depressed because they don't have money, which is true. Poverty is a contributing factor to mental health related diseases, illnesses like depression. And because people are going through something, they don't have money. In most cases, they are going to be depressed. This one says, hello, I'm Magom from Bale. What is the main cause of mental problems among the people of Uganda, and what is the best way of controlling mental illness among people? I'll come back to you.
Go back to the foundation, like Sonko put it, and let's go back to family settings. Look at how our parents, for those that have them, look at how they handle issues, and think back the way you were raised. If you were to raise a child in this generation, would you raise them the same way? Would you pay the same attention to them like you got when you were younger, or you would want more? So you realize that when it comes to mental health, we've even just figured out that what we are suffering from could be mental health issues. We're just starting to figure out, oh, this is actually a mental health issue. Oh, we are just waking up, trying to find out that this is what it is. We did not know. We lived in a world where we didn't know that whatever we were going through in a way was related to mental health. So since we are just now starting to know, we have to go back to the foundation. Do better what our parents did not do because they were not aware of these things. And the truth is, we are in an era where social media is going to be tagged as bad at some point for aiding the mental health challenges we are having. If used right, social media can help us. And there is self-help ways you can actually use on social media. You get it? If you use the information available correctly, if you search for the right things, you will get help on social media, because there is articles to read, there is videos to listen to, there is podcasts you will listen to, and these are things that are actually going to help you
get out of that depression. Or know how to handle that illness.
Thank you. And the mind is a very strange place. It could be a place that makes you or breaks you. A lot happens in there. Your mind has the ability to create a situation, quote me, create it, put it right, play it right in front of you, and it is portrayed as reality, and you believe it. Now, if that is very possible, imagine if the very same mind is used the right way, think the right way, listen to the right people, listen to the right content, you would find that even that blown up depression that you think you have could be gone in just a few hours or even a few days, because of just a small change in your mindset and how you think. When we shouldn't sit right now and start blaming our parents for the way they raised us, because you know why? We are going to stay in the same place where we are.
We need to take responsibility.
Think if you have grown and your parents don't have as much control over you, the decisions you make thereafter, you need to be sure that these are the decisions you're supposed to make. And
some of the mental health illnesses or challenges people are going through are sometimes personally caused, self-inflicted. Because when we say that majority of those that are admitted in Butabika are there because of a substance abuse, maybe we need to look at why they started abusing substances. And I have a comment on the X app coming in from Exit Drugs Uganda, and they say, we have to look at the root causes of mental health. One of it is using psychoactive substances. We need a comprehensive health promotion concept to empower people and for them to make the right health decisions that can have a lasting impact on their health. So in the event that maybe you've lost a job, is taking alcohol the best way to deal with the stress that comes from losing a job? Because the more you abuse this alcohol, you're going to create another different problem on your hands. This one is Odere Benji, still on the X app, and he says creating more employment opportunities would help to avert mental illnesses. And like we said, some of the depression that is caused among young people is because they are going through poverty. Coming back to WhatsApp, I have a few more comments, and this one says we have to look at the root causes of mental health. One of it is using psychoactive substances. This is the same person from Twitter, that is Exit Drugs. I've already shared that comment. Now this next commenter says, greetings family, currently major cause of mental health is drug abuse, and this also is a result of factors like poverty, depression, rejection, family-related problems, among others. In fact, statistics have it that among 10 people, 3 have mental problems, meaning that every household is has a potential victim. That's how serious this issue is. So the first primary solution is the ones going such hard that the ones going through such hard times should share with people they trust, seek advice. It might seem a very big problem to them, yet the solution is with the people they relate with, and that's where they can find solace. That is Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makinde, Luafu. And Derek is right. One of the aspects of dealing with mental illnesses that is usually fronted by even medical practitioners is to open up, talk to someone. If you can't afford therapy, find a friend you trust and talk about it. Sometimes when you talk about something, you actually feel better. You feel relieved. So we need to embrace opening up and talking to trusted persons within our circles. It can actually help to avert issues like depression. This person says government should prioritize mental health service delivery, have health workers mentored to diagnose, manage and treat as many people that live with mental health problems, because as many people live with undiagnosed mental illnesses. He says, let's have our community get aware of mental problems and how to seek the mental health services. This is Majid from Rubirizi, and he says, finally, the country should look at limitations of drug use in Uganda, plus poverty elimination. I am going to end this with a comment from Crispus Mujuni from Bushenyi. He says government should sponsor mentor courses in order to have enough medical workers and counselors to address the concern, put more rehabilitation centers for free, and encourage the community not to have a negative attitude towards mental health patients. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. The conversation continues online. The conversation continues on the X app. The hashtag is UBCGMU. This is still Good Morning Uganda. We will be right back.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Upgrade your lifestyle with the all-new entry-loaded Chillax voice bundles. Now, call all networks in Uganda with Chillax voice bundles. Call all networks, no expiry, no worries. Dial *100 *1# and select call all networks. Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wanu ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sun Fish Farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation Werese Creation era okuba yongerezaako emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efe eri Abannayuganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
This weekend on UBC.
When you talk about freedom, many people today, even guys, you women, you enter marriage and you say, I just want to be free.
Yes.
I want to go out with my girls.
Yes.
I want a girls' night out.
Yes.
And we just have fun. And then your me time with the girls, that is totally X. That is not freedom.
And guys want guy time.
Guy time, that is stupidity. The reality is this. When I've made my vows, I'm committing myself to you, and I'm saying this is what I'm going to be doing. You get me? Those vows have a lot of work that it takes you a lifetime keeping them.
This weekend on UBC.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, a very beautiful morning once again. Thank you so much for keeping it Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma here to take you through the day's traffic updates for this morning. But before we jump into that, I have a few more comments from social media regarding how best the challenges related to mental health and mental illnesses can be dealt with in the country. Now, before we broke off, I had a few comments coming in, and this one was from Migar Roni, and he said we need to speak about self-awareness and the different coping mechanisms. And Patrick from Bukedea said poverty is the main cause of mental depression. And of course, moving on, this one said, hello UBC and Ugandans, mental health is real but most times misunderstood. Mental illness comes from the brain giving an alternative option, more of a plan B. For childhood depression comes from lacking guidance in schools because family may not be available to provide that. And also he recommended reduction of antidepressants prices because they are so expensive. And he said treatment for mental health is gradual. And his name is FX Junior. Thank you so much. And the last one is Esther from Kumi, and she said improving on the level of technology to provide people with employment opportunities to reduce change of mindset. I think she means to, contribute positively to mindset change. She says job creation can also overcome mental illness. And someone also asked a question, how best can we deal with mental health related challenges for people that are in remote areas? He said, good morning Uganda, how is mental illness easily controlled in terms of remote areas where transport is not very common? Shield from Kabali. Thank you so much for your contributions and of course your questions. And if you live in a remote area, you just need to know your triggers. What makes you do the things that you do? What makes you not want to come out of bed? If you wake up one morning and you realize that you can't do the things, or you don't feel like doing some of the things that you like to do, let's say waking up, getting ready, brushing your teeth, and this one day you wake up and you just can't do it, that is one of the indicators that something with your mind is going on and that you're not okay. But thank you so much for your contributions. Right about now, we will jump into the traffic updates for this morning, and we are going to look at the route. That is the road that comes from Bunga coming to the main business center. Now we will pick it up from this is Bunga is along Gaba Road, and when you look at the areas of Makutano Bar and Grill, there is a little bit of traffic hold up. The traffic that keeps you in like you're not moving very fast, but you don't stay in the same place for so long. And that is the what I'm seeing. I'm seeing orange zones in this area. Orange zones indicate that there isn't smooth flow of traffic, that you are going to be held up in that place for a bit of time, especially when we look at areas of Gaba Road joining Konge Road that joins the main Gaba Road. There is a bit of traffic there, and of course around Chibale Road that is also joining the main Gaba Road, you're going to find that there is a traffic hold up there that is feeding into the main road. And around Soya Stage, if you're coming to the main business district, central business district, you're going to find that around Soya Stage there is a deep red zone there, as you can see, and it means that traffic is intense around this area. But as we move ahead, still along Gaba Road, it shows that we still have orange zones around there, meaning that many cars are on the road. They are moving but not as fast as you can. So if you're used to driving at 80 kilometers per hour, I think right now if you're along Gaba Road or you're going to use this part of town, coming from this part of town, you will find yourself driving at maybe 40 kilometers or even 30 kilometers per hour because of the traffic holdup. Now I see traffic coming in, feeding into Gaba Road, and it is coming from the areas of it's coming in from the areas that have Gospel Light Baptist Church, and it is feeding into the main road. It doesn't look good at all. So people coming from that feeder road are being held up for a bit. But moving on now into the areas of Kansanga around International University of East Africa. Yes, there is a hold up there. You won't stay too long there, but you will not be able to move very fast. And of course, there is traffic coming in from Chuafu Road, also joining the main Gaba Road, and yes, still you're going to be held up there. But if you're coming from Kakoza Road, the road looks pretty clear as you join the main road. Now, as you move along, then the traffic flow is actually better here. I see there is smooth flow of traffic as after the East African University, the University of East Africa, there is a smooth flow of traffic when you go past that area, and as you head into Kansanga, it still looks good. But then at the corner, coming in still as you head into Kabalagala, there is a hold up, and in that corner there seems to be lots of cars, and the orange zone becomes a red zone, meaning here it is that kind of traffic where sometimes you even have to switch off your engine. But again, when you move ahead, there is smooth flow of traffic, and of course you will again find orange zones indicating that you will still need to slow down. Now, looking at Senyonga Road that feeds into the main Gaba Road, there is intense traffic on that one, and I think it is also contributing to what we are seeing at the main road. Also from Nsambia Estate Road, joining still Kabalagala, that trading center where you go to Muyenga and then Nsambia. Yeah, there is traffic that has doesn't look good at all. But after Shell Kabalagala, as you move ahead on Gaba Road trying to go to Nsambia, there is a smooth flow of traffic up until Total Energies in Nsambia, and even after, you're going to now find traffic around Arena Mall as you join Mukwano Road. Here there is a bit of a hold up, but it doesn't look bad. So if you're going to the areas of Mukwano Road, it actually looks very smooth. You will be able to move as fast as you can, but please don't drive very fast, because at the end of the day you do not want to again cause an accident on the road. So that's it for our traffic updates this morning.
And well, now it's time for us to review what is happening from the local dailies from Uganda as well. Look at what is making headlines in the papers across the East African region, and at the same time check out the business outlets. Speaking of the dailies, the New Vision with the headline, Kale Kaihura freed, reveals next step, as details of the general's 5-year court battle are still in today's New Vision. Then the Operation Shuja, President Museveni meets DRC army officers. What was in there? That is more of what the New Vision is revealing today. Elsewhere, police intercepts 200 youth being trafficked to Kenya. There's a more detailed report on that particular one. Gabon coup, President Ali Bongo under house arrest. Still, the New Vision is giving you more details. There's also a pictorial showing the Swedish ambassador with some children who took part, or some students rather, who took part in an innovation competition in the country. Now, furthermore, still with the press review, the Daily Monitor today's shows Kale Kaihura walks to his freedom is the headline for the Daily Monitor today. And then Bobby Wine says don't support General Muhoozi's presidential bid as he continues his NUP country tours. And furthermore, legislators to probe cash for cooperatives. There is a detailed report of that with the Daily Monitor, as the deposed Gabon leader calls for help And in the other news, Prime Minister Nabanja orders probe into PDM cash. Now elsewhere, as we continue with more of the dailies, we cross over to Kenya with the Daily Nation. President Ruto, Raila strike common ground. Raila wants a sit-down dialogue with the president of Kenya. Will that happen? More of that is in the Daily Nation today. Now, war on graft. Kidiki cracks down on immigration cartels. And then in the issue to do with scandal, tables of woe from the victims of first choice jobs racket. Still with the Daily Nation. As the Budapest 2023, Kenya's good, bad and ugly, all of that is within the Daily Nation. And also the Gabon coup leaders place Bongo under house arrest. The rebel officers seize power after disputed polls. That is according to what the Daily Nation has to say today. Now we're off to Tanzania with the Citizen newspaper. The Citizen highlights what difference are they going to make. All eyes on the latest cabinet reshuffle after the president appointed Tanzania's only third deputy prime minister and split ministries into two and lets go of some familiar faces. Then the Gabon coup, president under house arrest, pleads for help. Then fresh Tanzania berries attract Israel buyers. And then Ukerewe on quest to restore fishing glory days. So that is what is making headlines from the Citizen in Tanzania. Now, besides that, just briefly, as we head into the business update of the day, this one starts off with the Bank of Uganda, which is ready to license Islamic banking products. For those who are highly interested in the Islamic banking, when you come to think of it, it is a non-profitable kind of banking. And at times, most of the people who are fronting it up there believe commercial banks may not buy the idea. But the Bank of Uganda is ready, according to new details, to license Islamic banking. And of course, they will be seeking to offer Islamic banking product as they review what it is different from the rest, as there are few financial institutions that had been waiting for the law to commence in order to offer the Islamic banking. So once it is actually passed through or given a license, who knows then? It may be a Kickstarter for those who are highly into Islamic banking or pushing for Islamic banking to be included in Uganda's banking institutions. Now, lastly, from GMU Business, MTN Uganda has revealed that mobile payments for goods and services are low as they continue to push for mobile money payments within the country. For goods and services in Uganda, they remain relatively low to subscriber numbers, according to a report. There are quite a number of people who have registered for mobile money services, but again, there are few people who are using these services to pay for bills or for different services. Unlike elsewhere in countries like Kenya, where the uptake of mobile payment, when you look at people who use M-Pesa, for example, is quite phenomenal. Lastly, with the Forex updates here on GMU, is we look at the currency as of close of business yesterday. The US dollar was buying at 3,713.79 shillings, while selling at 3,723.79 shillings. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,688.28 shillings, while selling at 4,700.91. And then the euro was buying at 4,035.77, while selling at 4,046.64. The Kenyan shilling was buying at 25.55 shilling, while selling at 25.62 shillings. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.48 shillings, while selling at 1.49 shillings. And then the South African rand was buying at 200.65 shillings, while selling at 200.39 shillings. Well, that is it for our GMU business update this particular morning. Coming up is the Good Morning Uganda agenda with Robert Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono. So stick around with us.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Pick of the day on UBC. was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
This weekend on UBC.
When you talk about freedom, many people today, even guys, you women, you enter marriage and you say, I just want to be free.
Yes.
I want to go out with my girls.
Yes.
I want a girls' night out.
Yes.
And, we just have fun. And then your me time with the girls, that is totally X. That is not freedom.
And guys want guy time.
Guy time, that is stupidity. The reality is this. When I've made my vows, I'm committing myself to you, and I'm saying this is what I'm going to be doing. You get me? Those vows have a lot of work that it takes you a lifetime keeping them.
This weekend on UBC.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi ba byananda ebyebika ebisatu omuli Miracap, tilapia oba engege ni catfish twete male. Group eno twatandika twali abantu basatu nga tulingirira obwetaavu obwebyenanda obw'obwiva eno okubona nti tufuna okasente akava mu maadi agali gatambula butambule nga gatubita ku wano ng'ekirabo. Twatandika ni fish pond ndala mu mwaka gw'e2018. Twebaza fisheries officer ni district ya Bugiri babanga batulagirira ku Sani Fish Farm ebwikwe ni side day ndeyo twabanga tusobola okufuna kwetusaako obugege obwasooka era mu mwaka ogwali 2020 awo basobola okubanga batuwaayo ebyenanda emitwalo $40 okuva mu operation Werese Creation era okubayongereza ku emmere yatuweebwa okuva Uganda Poultry Breeders. Twasobola okubanga tusoloza akasente akawerera obukayire nga 42. Twasobola okubanga tubuinvestinga oba okubona nti twongerezaako ku bimu ku bintu bye tukola gano. Twebaza gavumenti yaife okubanga buli saawa efaayo okubanga efeeri y'Abannayuganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and much thanks for being with us on UBC TV. Thank you so very much. From the time of 6:30 till now, you're still with us. Well, I'm Robert Chirabonyonyintono. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Now, this morning I have a topic. Ladies, come closer. And of course, men of the 21st century also come closer, because we are going to be discussing something very important, and that is dermatological care. Now, what do we mean? This is something why you should listen, why you should watch till the end, because I have a very interesting person who happens to be a problem skin specialist. Now, most of the times, we spend lots of monies on our skin, even when we shouldn't. Yet there are simple things that we should do just to have a skin as healthy as mine, and even better. Sometimes you go into a lot of makeup, sometimes you go into, yet they're just basics. Now, join me, welcome, that is Stephen Mukisa, who happens to be a problem skin specialist. You're most welcome.
Thank you very much.
I'm delighted to have you now when we are talking skin. The other thing about Stephen, he's a biker, under the Uganda Bikers, and of course I am. So there's so much that bonds us together. But today we are discussing issues regarding the skin. Now, Stephen, first and foremost, when we talk about dermatological care, what is this all about?
Basically, dermatological care, there is no big magic about the word. Let's just break it down a little bit. Dermatological, derma is basically the dermis, the skin, all right? The dermis, the outer layer of the skin. That's what we are talking about. So dermis is the skin, and the study of that skin is dermatology, and the dermatological care basically means that kind of skin care, the treatment of diseases, disorders, all. We work on all that.
At least I remember a little biology I did. One of the things that was examinable was the skin. So you draw the skin, then they would ask you to name different parts of the skin. But away from that, now, what are the common skin problems? Because I see people, this, that, but what are some of those common before we zero to one that I know many people are interested in?
Skin problems are many. There are quite so many, and everybody comes with a different concern of the skin. The biggest, commonest kind of skin care problem that most people come with, especially things like melasma. Melasma is the same as namakura. Yeah, lots of people come to me with those problems. And then other problems include complexion problems. Most people want to wear their skins different ways. I always believe that skin is like a jacket or a dress or anything, and you can wear it the way that you want to wear it. But you have to make sure you're wearing it the right way. If you want to wear your skin dark, it's okay, wear your skin dark. If you want it light, you can wear your skin light, but know how to wear it light. You understand? Most of the biggest skin problems that we have come from people wearing their skins the way they want to, but the wrong way, using the wrong methods. And because of the wrong methods, you always get sunburns, you get the melasma, you get pigmentation disorders, you get dark spots, you get so many different problems of the skin, because people are trying to gamble around with 1, 2, 3, a number of different things. And then there's also a lot of skin advice from so many skin experts who say, oh, I use this, try it, it worked for me. You try it, it doesn't work. Another person says, oh, try this, my auntie tried it. You try it, doesn't work. So most people always end up with dressing tables that look like mini cosmetic shops, full of things that they've tried to use and they're not working. Okay, that creates a lot of desperation as well.
People have layers and layers. They put first layer, second layer, third layer, and you're like, well, I was told the skin has to breathe But now at what, how will it breathe through 4-5 layers?
Definitely. The skin is definitely supposed to breathe because it has the pores on it. And the pores basically are those little holes that you see on the skin, and they are meant to pour. That's why they call them pores anyway. They pour. What do they pour? They pour out the sweat, and the sweat carries a number of toxins. Okay, so there are a number of detoxification organs that we have on the body, in the body and on the body. The skin is one of the detoxification organs. The liver is one of the detoxification organs. The kidney, the lungs, the heart, they all work together to keep our bodies clean and healthy. So basically, the skin as one of the detoxification organs also helps to detox the body by pouring out through the pores. It pours out through the pores, and then you're able to. That's why they call it breathing. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't mean that the skin has any lungs or anything, but you know, it has to be, for healthy skin, has to be able to pour out the toxins that are underneath the skin. If it can't do that, then there are lots of other problems that can come around. Like, for instance, when a pore is blocked, there are so many problems that can come from the pore being blocked. Like, for instance, acne. Okay? When acne cannot survive, acne is the same as pimples.
Pimples, yes.
Acne cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. So when the pore is blocked on top, okay, it means there is no more oxygen entering the pore, and that is a great breeding ground for the bacteria that causes acne. The bacteria that causes acne is called the P. acnes bacteria. So when it's trapped inside, okay, now remember, if this was the pore, now it's blocked by a number of things. It could be your makeup, it could be sweat, it could be a number of combinations of sweat, dead skin. They're all blocking now the top of the pore. When they block the top of the pore, it means that now it's a great breeding ground for bacteria that causes acne. Now, when it starts breeding, remember the bacteria that causes acne, it feeds on sebum, feeds on that oil that is inside the pore. Remember, the pore carries the sudoriferous glands and the sebaceous glands. Those glands that bring out the sweat, and then those glands that also bring out the oil. The purpose of the oil is basically to lubricate the skin, to create a moisture barrier so that you don't lose moisture. The skin won't be dry at all. So when that happens, the acne now is feeding on that sebum. As it feeds on the sebum, just like all living things, you eat and then you go to the toilet, eat, go there. Now, the acne bacteria feeds on the sebum, and then it secretes a toxin. That toxin makes the sebum to start rotting. When it starts rotting, that's when you start seeing the pus. Now, the pus that you see, okay, is now that becomes another type of acne altogether. It's called a pustule. Now, the pus that you see is what terrifies most people, and at that point, that's when most people feel like, now I need to pinch my pimple. I need to remove the pimple, okay? Well, you shouldn't pinch the pimple, mainly because whenever you pinch, you're now spreading the bacteria that is inside the pore. So basically, where you had one pimple, now you definitely get two pimples. Why? Because you're the one who physically moved one bacteria from one pore to another. Meaning it's very easy for you to go from one pimple to a face full of pimple in a very short period of time, mainly because you've been pinching, okay? Pinching is the same as scrubbing. When you scrub, you do exactly the same thing. You're opening up that pore and spreading the infection around the pores. And then there are a number of ways that you can spread that infection. You can either spread the infection from the top of the skin or from underneath the skin. Now, on top of the skin, it's very easy to treat that kind of acne, especially with the kind of products that you may have, okay, the topical products that you use on top of the skin. Now, if that bacteria is spreading from underneath the skin, it becomes much harder to treat that kind of acne, mainly because because now you have acne that is all over your skin but has no heads. You touch the skin, you don't see a pimple on top, but inside you start feeling infections underneath, pimples underneath the skin. Now that is actually the toughest kind of acne to treat, mainly because you can't see it. It's underneath the skin, it has no head. It basically infiltrated the skin from underneath, and you can have a number of them that are flowing through your skin, and it can become very disastrous and very, very hard. It's going to affect your self-esteem. It affects a number of people's self-esteem, definitely.
Yes.
People could be looking at your beautiful hair, and you're thinking, they must be looking at my bad skin. Or they could be looking at your nice clothes, and you think they are looking at your skin. So basically, it affects you in a number of ways. It will affect you psychologically, it will affect you physically, it will affect you in a number of ways.
Now, what is the right treatment for acne?
Basically, there are a number of treatments. There are a number of treatments that are meant to treat acne, and most of these are basically antibacterials. Okay, because remember, we are dealing with bacteria, so we are using antibacterials. Okay. There are a number of ingredients that can treat acne. There's benzoyl peroxide, salicylic acid, there's sulfur, there are quite a number of them.
Yes, yes.
I cannot say all of them right here, but so some of those are actually medicated ingredients. But lately, the companies that make products that help to fix acne, they make what they call cosmeceuticals. Cosmeceuticals are products that are part pharmaceutical, part cosmetic. Okay? They are half-half. They are meant to beautify and treat at the same time. So that's why you find cosmetics that have benzoyl peroxide. Benzoyl peroxide is pharmaceutical, but you find it in cosmetic, basically meant to treat the acne. And then you find other pharmaceutical ingredients like salicylic acid. Salicylic acid is pharmaceutical, but it's mixed in a cosmetic to work, to help to fix acne. So basically, there are a number of things that you can do to make sure you prevent acne. You can use those cosmeceuticals, or alternatively, depending on what the trigger of your acne is. That there are so many triggers of acne. It could be hormonal imbalances. Okay, hormonal imbalances come in a number of different ways. It could be hormonal imbalances that are induced by, say, pregnancy. Okay, when people are pregnant, they can definitely get some acne. There could be hormonal imbalance that is induced by say, stress. When people are stressed, there are a lot of hormonal fluctuations. So basically, you could also get acne like that. And then there people could have change in diet. Change in diet can also cause hormonal fluctuations. So that could also bring you acne. And then sometimes also eating certain oils like the polycirculated fat, things like margarine, those vegetable oils. Okay, sometimes they also cause the fluctuations. So basically, there are a number of ways that you can try to prevent your skin from getting acne. And then the other thing is touching your skin. Most of the times you touch money, touch door handles, you touch so many things. Now, when you touch all these things and then you touch your face, there's a way you're going to spread the bacteria and put it on your skin. The other thing is lots of people are doing makeup these days, yeah? And probably most
makeup
people,
artists are everywhere.
Yeah, they want to go with, they call it the upbeat or a face beat, I don't know what whatever they call it. So it's very possible to move bacteria from one person to another, especially if you're going to share makeup brushes, if you're going to share makeup sponges. It's very easy to move bacteria from one skin to another. So it would be nice if you love to do makeup, go to your makeup artist and ask them to help you buy your own brushes. Okay? You tell them, okay, I'll do my makeup from me, but I need help to buy some good brushes. So they buy you brushes and you'll be using your own brushes. You go to them, they could use their own makeup, but you're using their brushes, your own brushes that you bought. That is also another way of making sure you prevent acne spread and acne on your skin.
Well, very interesting information here regarding how to take care of your skin. Now, another challenge we always have are collagens. Now, when you talk about this problem also, you know, some of these terms, I want you first to simplify that for our viewers to understand. Like when we used acne, someone sent me a message saying, what is that? I said, no, pimples. Okay. Barabe. So that is also another problem that disturbs so many people with their skin, and they get confused. Then today we have experts. I mix this for you, I mix that for you. So how best can this problem be handled?
Basically, lately there's people are really crazy about collagen lately, and it's understandable. More people are becoming more and more self-aware, okay? More people are becoming more aware of their aging, and nobody wants to age in 2023, you know? It's a year of people who are completely ageless, okay? You should see my grandmother. She looks awesome. She hasn't aged a little bit. When people see her, they think she could be my mother, but she's my grandmother. So we're in a generation of ageless people, and many people are really crazy about making sure they preserve their beauty, they preserve their skins. And what they're doing right now is they're crazy about collagen. Collagen is simply, let me simplify collagen for you. Collagen is like the super glue, the glue that puts the skin together, okay? The skin has a number of different fibers, but the collagen is what puts it together in one piece. Now, when that glue reduces, you start seeing skin that is slackening. It's like putting on a socks. You know, when we were kids, we would wear our socks. You know, you pull up your socks and they're really high. But as time goes on, they lose elasticity. When they lose elasticity, you start pulling it up and it falls down. Pull it up, it falls down. So basically, collagen and elastin come together and they help the skin to stay in one place, okay? Making sure that at least when you smile, the smile doesn't stay. There are so many people who smile and then the smile stays, okay?
Get that?
They stay with the smile lines. There are also people who frown and the frown stays. 24/7 they have a frown on their face, okay? Mainly because their collagen has run out and the skin is not plumped up anymore, and it cannot frown and go back, okay? Meaning the skin has lost that elasticity. It has lost the collagen in it. It has lost that ingredient that helps to plump it up. Now, there are a number of ways that people can try to get back that collagen in their skins, okay? There are mechanical ways, like for instance at our clinic, there is what they call collagen replacement therapy. Collagen replacement therapy, when you do collagen replacement therapy, you basically use microneedling. Microneedling is basically causing small little punctures on the skin so that the skin can start producing that collagen in order to repair those little punctures that you put. So as it repairs, it produces more collagen and more collagen. So you end up with more collagen on the skin, and the skin becomes more plumped up. But there are also natural ways in which you can be able to gain some collagen in the skin. One of those things that you can do is you supplement. Most people don't like supplementing, but it's very, very important to supplement. Most people, when they see supplements, they think they're taking medicine, but supplements are not medicine. Supplements are basically something that goes, that You know the way you see a supplementary budget, what does it do? A supplementary budget, basically, it means that whatever they planned for wasn't enough, so they bring in the supplement to make sure it's enough. The same thing, you eat food and the food is not enough. So what you do, you bring in a supplement to help you to supplement. So that's what the supplement does. It gives you the food that you haven't been able to eat, okay? So when you take that supplement, it helps you definitely get better. But there are foods like vitamin C. Vitamin C helps to boost your collagen. So if you can get your vitamin C, make it a habit to take your vitamin C every day, it helps to boost your collagen in the body. And then you can also, there are also a number of things that have collagen, like, what do they call this thing that they, do they also call it chigere in English? What is chigere in English? Food.
It's
like okay.
Commonly known as Moroccan.
Exactly. That has a lot of collagen in it. So when you eat that chigere, it will be very good for you to replace the collagen that you've lost. The other thing that my friends, the Chinese, love eating are chicken feet. Yeah. If you could allow to eat chicken feet can help you. They have a lot of collagen in them. So you could have a lot of collagen by supplementing your diet with some chicken feet. But if you can't do chicken feet, definitely do the cow feet. They will have a lot of collagen in that. And your skin will be completely ageless. Then the other thing that takes away a lot of collagen is the sun. UV radiation. I keep telling my friends, wear sunscreen. Whenever I get a chance to look at somebody, you know, you ask them, are you wearing your sunscreen today? Are you wearing sunscreen? Mainly because I know most of the biggest problems of the skin arise from the sun, okay?
But
because
one would think for us Africans, unless our brothers and sisters with albinism, we have a lot of melanin in our skin. And we are good to go. We do not need this protection from extra sun. When our brothers and sisters, the whites, come in, then it's okay. They usually have sunscreen. They smear it all over the body. You call it wearing. They wear it all over the body. But for us, with this black, and I don't find a purpose why I should go for that expense as well.
All right, I understand. Africans, we have what we call the melanin. Melanin is that pigment that you have in your skin that helps to work as a UV filter. And the melanin comes in a number of different colors. It comes in dark brown, it comes in yellow, and it comes in red. Now, if you're naturally light-skinned, you still have melanin. The only thing is that your melanin is yellow or red. And if you're dark-skinned, you have melanin, and your melanin could be dark brown or a number of other colors, maybe red-brown, something like that. Now, it so happens that most of the African people have only one problem, is that you suffer a lot from pigmentation disorders. Pigmentation disorders, it means that you have a very uneven skin. The face could be light, the body could be light, could be dark, or a number of pigmentation disorders. So the kind of products that are used to correct those pigmentation disorders most of the times require you to wear sunscreen. That's why most of the ladies who want to lighten up a little bit, okay, you definitely need to wear a sunscreen. Why? It's because you remember when you're lightening, you're removing the melanin. Okay? You're removing the melanin. So when you remove the melanin, you must make sure that you wear a sunscreen. Now, this time you wear a sunscreen like a supplement. Okay? Now, the sunscreen is supplementing melanin. Remember, you're using a skin lightener, and the skin lightener is reducing your melanin. If your melanin was 1 liter, now it's half a liter. Now, where are you going to get the other liter? You're going to have to supplement with a sunscreen. Why? Because if you don't supplement with a sunscreen, your skin is going to be damaged. Remember, it was created with some melanin to make sure it protects it from the sun. Okay, and this time you're removing the melanin. That means you have insufficient amounts of protection. That's when you have to wear a sunscreen. But even if you're not lightening, it's very important for you to wear a sunscreen, mainly because the sun reduces collagen. If you're a very good cook, you should be able to know that when you put meat on heat, okay, the first thing that happens when you put meat on heat, it changes color. The same thing that happens to your skin. Remember, the meat is protein. Your skin is also protein, okay? It's made of keratin, which is a protein. So when you put fire, heat on protein, it changes color. Same thing that will happen to your skin, it will change color, okay? When you put heat on protein, it loses its elasticity, it softens up, okay? That's why when before you start cooking your meat, you need a very sharp knife to cut the meat, okay? But after you put it on fire, it becomes very loose, it becomes very weak, and you can use a toothpick or a fork to separate the meat. Before you are using a very sharp knife, now you're using a fork to separate the meat. What that means, it means that heat removes collagen from your skin. That's why the skin easily separates. Remember, I told you that collagen is like the glue that puts the skin together. Okay? Now, when you put it on heat, that glue reduces. And that means the skin slackens and ages very quickly. You understand? So, just as an anti-aging mechanism to make sure you don't age easily, wear sunscreen even if you're not lightening your skin.
Well, that is very interesting. Now, I have a few messages from our viewers, and please keep those messages coming in. One says, good morning, UBC. For me, I would like to learn more about ensundo and fungal infections. Well, hi, thanks for the show. Then we have another one. Says, good morning. Okay. This is, hello, I'm Joe. Please talk about some terms here. Good morning, contact of Mr. Stephen Mukisa, the skin specialist you're hosting right now. Thank you. Okay, but please, I also need your name. He will give it out for you. Let's first go with this because time is flying. Say the ensundo and fungo. Now, these are also skin challenges. Really.
Yes. Lots of people have those little things called ensundo. Ensundo, could call it keratosis. Basically, it's an accumulation of keratin in a particular area. Okay, lots of people have them. And the way we treat them, there used to be a lot of local ways of being able of treating those little things. Some people used to put sap. Back in the village, they used to put sap from a tree, a certain tree, and then you put on ensundo, and then it goes away. All right. Now, we use other methods right now to get rid of that ensundo. We use laser. Okay, we can use laser to get rid of them. Sometimes we can do cryosurgery. Cryosurgery is the use of liquid nitrogen to get rid of the ensundo. Basically, those are some of the things that we do to get rid of that.
But what causes them?
It's a disorder of the keratin cells. Okay, it's a disorder of the keratin cells whereby they accumulate more, they build more and accumulate in one particular spot. They keep piling up until you see something, pilaris, you see something that is on top of the skin and all accumulated on top of the skin in one particular spot. So you're going to have a number of those, yeah? It's basically a disorder, but usually once you use a laser on them, they go completely and they don't come back unless if you get new ones popping up. That is when you're going to come back and then they work on those ones too. But they're definitely, they're manageable. You can manage them. You don't have to walk around with ensundo on your skin and you don't feel good about it. Though they don't pose any health problem at all. It's not like a kind of a disability, but we can remove it in case you're not comfortable with it.
Well, Stephen, time is running, and of course, a number of viewers here are asking about where you're located and also asking about how best they can get you. Let's do that and move out of here.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, our viewers, I'm called Stephen Mukisa. I'm a problem skin specialist. Now, our clinic is found opposite KCCA. The building is called Impala House. Impala House, room 6B. That is where we are located. And my number, just in case you can't find us, my number is 0782 346 006 or 0751 346 006. That is how you can reach me. Let me repeat the number. Just
maybe
in case
there's social media. Do you have maybe a YouTube channel or something that is better for these days? Yes.
Right now, I don't have a YouTube channel, but definitely I'm planning to get one. But on Instagram, you check the problem skin specialist. That's where you're going to find me on Instagram, the problem skin specialist. That's how you're going to find me. On TikTok, on TikTok is Steve MXA.
Okay.
That is
well, Steve MXK. MXA.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
for apples,
for your time, and of course there's been so many questions, but those will be for another time. Thank you so much for your time, and of course our viewers, I'll be leaving you with Ruben. There's so much he has this morning in the world of sports. Have a lovely day. God bless you.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.